It's all taxable income.
We get.
Did you know that on the front end, or was
I
that a
knew that
surprise?
about $650 in, and then I figured out $600 is like, or $900 is the mark to where. Yeah, and I'm like,
I have in the backyard.
and we had the stupidest stuff coming. We had stupidest stuff coming to my house. I mean, he was fine.
They got rain here yesterday.
All right, I want to call to order the school board meeting for June 11th, 2026. Ms. Johnson, you should take
Mr. Daniels, Dr. Hebot.
Here.
Ms. Dobson. Here. Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Holbrook.
Here.
Mr. Carnes.
Here.
Ms. Purvis. Here. Mr. Vice Chairman, you have a quorum.
Right. We have a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Ms. Purvis, a second.
Second.
Mr. Carnes. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, the agenda is approved. Let's move to Pledge of Allegiance. Join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go join me in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. All right, 2.01, Superintendent's Report, Mr. Dupere.
Yes. Tonight's going to be a lot about congratulations, thank you, updates as we finish the school year, and I believe we finished it pretty strong. So I want to start out with on Saturday, May 23rd, we held 3 highly anticipated high school graduation ceremonies for Stanton River High School, Liberty High School, and Jefferson Forest High School, with over 600 graduating seniors. On Thursday, 2 days before, on May 21st, we also congratulated 17 seniors at Susie G for completion of their high school GED requirements. So special congratulations to our graduating seniors for finishing high school strong and with big ambitions. We thank you for your commitment in higher education to entering the local workforce and in some cases enlisting in our armed forces. The Bedford County Public School Division is proud of you, and we wish all of our graduates the very best in future endeavors. As we close out this school year, I'd like to also extend my deepest gratitude to our school-based administrators, faculty, and staff. Thank you for walking alongside of our students this year as teachers, sponsors, coaches, advisors, and mentors. Your dedication and strong leadership have made a lasting impact. A special thank you also goes out to our maintenance, IT, nutrition, transportation, student support, special ed, and central office teams. Your essential and impactful work behind the scenes keeps our schools running smoothly throughout the school year. To parents, grandparents, and extended family, thank you for your support for the division, and we look forward to serving and working with you again next year. This summer, the maintenance department of Bedford County Public Schools is continuing to work on several projects that are included in our 5-year maintenance plan. Those projects include completion of Liberty High School and Stanton River High School theaters and sidewalk canopy projects, both slated to be completed this July. Stanton River High School and Liberty High School are also scheduled for HVAC and roofing repairs slated for completion during the summer of 2027. Several weeks ago, several of us toured at Liberty High School, the theater. I think the anticipation of these kids and the sponsor has got to be really high because they are going from what was a very small production theater to a very well thought out and big theater. I think they're going to be thrilled. Other major maintenance projects include roof painting for Montvale Elementary, completed in April to beat the summer heat. The New London Academy flooring project, parking lot paving at Huddleston Elementary, Bedford Elementary painting project, scheduled to be completed by the end of June, and the replacement of the Otter River Elementary and Stewartsville Elementary waste water treatment facilities, both mandated by the Department of Environmental Quality. Thank you to our maintenance department for the dedication and hard work keeping our school facilities open, up to speed and clean and inviting. I would also like to take this time to thank the Bedford County Board of Supervisors for their willingness to participate in our budget discussions over the last several months and for their assistance with the school division this week with the BCPS Health Fund, Insurance Health Fund. We look forward to working with Bedford County Board of Supervisors in the future on other initiatives of importance. Thank you to BCPS Safe Schools Coordinator Paul Nazigan, our designated safety committee made up division staff and community partners for their participation in yesterday's practice reunification drill. Drills of this nature are necessary for crisis preparedness and for safety and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff. Tonight, the BCPS School Board will be presented with 2 action items to address school division overcapacity and undercapacity issues. This first action will include the final selection and approval of a recent request for proposal issued last month to seek outside participation for a countywide redistricting plan for K-12 involving all 3 attendance zones. This action would address current and future capacity issues in several elementary schools experiencing a decline in enrollment, as well as several other elementary schools approaching overcapacity issues such as Forest Elementary and New London Academy. Both of those being brought about by new housing developments in those respective attendance zones. The second action for consideration would address overcrowding at Forest Elementary School, specifically with the consideration of moving approximately 35 students who currently reside in the Weston Village development to Otter River Elementary School. My recommendation, again, as it was last month, is that we not act on Weston Village discussion, as it is a short-term solution that should be addressed in a countywide redistricting proposal. Based on my recommendation, I strongly urge the BCPS board to support the countywide redistricting proposal reviewed this afternoon in our work session. This proposal would deliver a long-term solution for school capacity while improving financial efficiency across the entire division. Thank you again to all of the stakeholders of Bedford County Public Schools for an outstanding school year. This concludes my report for June 11th.
All right, 2.02 strategic framework update. Strasburg.
Good evening. Ms. Kelly Jennings and I will be providing an update on this continued work that we're working together on through the Bedford County Strategic Framework. We're also joined by Ms. Audrey Bowyer, who's a supervisor of mathematics and gifted. Appreciate her being here with us tonight also. Just as a reminder, our work continues to be grounded in the Bedford County vision of building citizens, promoting success. We seek to provide equal opportunities, enable all students to think critically, collaborate, create, communicate, and become productive citizens. And our core values, which are our student focus, collaboration, integrity, high expectations, and dynamic learning environments, continue to be the foundation for the decisions that we make across the division as we implement our strategic framework. So we have 5 goals as part of our strategic plan. And so for tonight, we're going to focus on goal 1. We've gone to a few different goals. Previously, I'd done goal 1 for literacy. Tonight, we're going to focus on numeracy, but goal 1, just as a reminder, is that we will maintain high academic expectations and support all students in attaining foundational knowledge, transferable skills, and post-graduation planning. So this goal reflects our commitment to preparing every student for success, both during their time in Bedford County and then beyond graduation. Specifically, strategy 3, again, is focused on numeracy. The goals or the strategy states research, design, and implement a division numeracy framework that focuses on building conceptual understanding in number and number sense so students gain foundational knowledge that enables them to develop transferable skills master critical learning phases, and prepare them for future success in algebraic thinking and post-graduation plans. When looking at our goals and looking at our progress, we use two primary data points. We look at the Virginia Kindergarten Readiness Program, we call VKRP, and the Virginia Standards of Learning, or SOL test. So we'll first look at VKRP. This is given in the fall and in the spring to our students in pre-K and in kindergarten. This is required by the VDOE. As part of that, we have an early mathematics assessment system that measures numeracy, computation, patterning, and geometry. In the last presentation we did on literacy, we noted that the benchmark had changed after the strategic framework was implemented, and this is actually the same in 2024. During the administration window there, we have a new baseline, so it's highlighted on there. And that was used as an indicator of success. And so this includes monitoring the percentage of students in the growing and strong skill development band on the assessment. The growing band are children who demonstrate mathematics skills as expected, and strong band includes kids who are demonstrating strong foundational mathematics skills. Very positive data here. The data indicates that about 80% of our kindergartners in Bedford County are meeting that benchmark. So they have a good foundation to start with that we can build on as they go later into SOL testing. Numeracy achievement for students at Bedford County continues to demonstrate overall growth as well, since our baseline data was taken in 2021 at the beginning of our plan. During this time, focused instructional strategies and curriculum alignment were the focus of our plans, and it's all about strengthening that mathematical understanding. We've shifted a few key instructional practices since the DOE adopted our new 2023 standards of learning by adopting our high-quality instructional materials in grades kindergarten through Algebra 2, and our students are showing that they are continuing to demonstrate growth. One of the focus areas that we really look at is third grade math. Third grade success in math is strongly connected to post-secondary readiness because it represents a critical transition point where students move from learning basic number concepts to actually applying mathematical reasoning in more complex ways. We're found that research consistently shows that students that demonstrate proficiency in math by third grade are more likely to succeed in later mathematics courses, particularly Algebra 1. And then Algebra 1, as we also know, is one of the strongest predictors of success in college or career readiness. So we put a lot of focus on those third grade. What we've seen is that based on the most recent data, not this past year, but prior to this past year, we don't quite have that data. 73% of our third graders in Bedford County are proficient in mathematics. As you can tell, 80% of our fifth graders have shown that, 79% in eighth grade are proficient, and then 79% in Algebra 1. And EOC means end of course, which means it's taken in high school. Ms. Jennings is going to talk about our special ed data.
So BCPS's numeracy framework must ensure that students with disabilities receive strong foundational instruction in mathematics, particularly in those critical milestone grades 3, 5, 8, and Algebra 1. The data presented shows growth in grades 3 and 8. It shows a stable performance in grade 5 and a decline in Algebra 1 under Virginia's revised 2023 mathematics standards of learning in the spring of 2025. BCPS will continue to strengthen general and special education collaboration to improve Tier 1 instruction and implement specially designed instruction using evidence-based practices that support student achievement. So when we're looking at the action steps for Goal 1, Strategy 3, that's outlined that BCPS will create a numeracy framework based on research, best practices, and provide and implement resources and training. Essentially, this is our roadmap to make math make sense for every student, including those with disabilities. Instead of just memorizing rules, students will focus on true problem solving, visual models, and group discussions to build strong math habits. To make this happen, we've adopted high-quality instructional materials, are providing targeted training for our teachers, and are facilitating common planning among subjects and with our special education staff. By using data and collaborating, our goal is simple: boost student achievement and make sure every graduate is ready for life after high school and prepare students for future academic and post-secondary success.
And as we move into the next phase of our implementation, and as we continue with our strategic plan. The focus is gonna be on strengthening consistency and effectiveness in our math instruction across all of our schools in the division. We're gonna be going into year 2 of our adoption of our high-quality instructional materials. So our teachers will continue to refine their practices and ensure that their instruction is aligned with the 2023 standards of learning, and also with our numeracy framework, which is our foundation. It gives guiding principles for what good, effective math instruction looks like. We're also going to continue to provide ongoing professional development to support our teachers in deepening their conceptual understanding, to improve mathematical discourse, which is getting our students to be able to dialogue and really understand the reasoning and rationale behind why they do certain mathematical problems. And then also just using evidence-based strategies that promote number sense and algebraic thinking. Another strategy that we're going to continue to do is to promote common planning. We found that to be very effective across all of our subjects. So we'll facilitate those, allow teachers and instructional staff to collaboratively analyze data, to align their instruction with the standards, and to develop supplemental resources to address student learning needs and ensure continued growth in mathematics achievement. So just in closing, the numeracy framework that we have developed gives us a unified plan for math success in every grade. So again, as we head into year 2, we're going to try to stay focused on supporting our teachers as they work together to collaborate and then to deliver high quality instruction for every student to help them thrive in mathematics later on in high school and even beyond the skills they need after they graduate. So at this time, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
I have a couple questions for Ms. Jennings. Just so I understand, the SOL testing standards that the special needs students take, are they the same exact standards as a non-special, just a regular general?
Yes, those students taking the SOLs are the same SOLs that their peers are taking.
So the percentages that you're getting on the special needs, how does that compare to other schools as far as, obviously they're lower than a regular general ed student. So are these percentages typical, or is there any way that other schools are improving that percentage, or?
So we get data from our indicators. They're always 2 years behind. So we do get the information, and we are meeting state targets for most of our for the grade levels that they look at, which are 4th, 8th, and the Algebra 1, the end of credit. So we're showing most of the time we are meeting those state targets, but again, they're 2 years behind. Looking at this data, we are close to those state targets, and as for other schools, it varies, just like our data varies. The number of students taking that end of credit course percentage and those kind of things always impacts that data for our students with disabilities.
Okay, one of the comments that you had made was that instead of memorizing math facts, they're giving them actual problems to work out. Is that how they're doing it in general ed, or what is the reasoning behind that?
That would be how they do it in Tier 1 instruction, but I will also let Ms.
We're
Boyer.
still focusing on fact fluency. That's still part of our curriculum, but that's not the only piece. We're making sure that we're extending past those math facts. So it's not that we're not doing math facts, we are. We're just extending past that so that it extends into the application so that they're getting more real world experience about how those facts pertain to their daily life.
Okay, so they're still memorizing their times
They
tables.
still have all their fact fluency, their mathematical automaticity, all of that is still part of the standards and still part of our curriculum.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a couple. You usually get off the hook because you're always on we're making a whole bunch of other decisions to say one. So on slide 6, you discuss kind of indicators of success. And you're trying to decrease failure by 10%. I saw obviously 3rd grade went down this year by not as low as it was in 21, but lower than it was last year. I know baseline's changed. I know we're kind of testing new standards. What's kind of is there a plan specifically with 3rd grade, or just kind of we're going to continue to see if we can keep on moving that up?
That dip was not unexpected because that was the first year we tested in those 2023 standards. It gets a little confusing. It was the test was in 2005, but that was the standards developed in 23. Pretty much across the board, if there's a new test, it's going to drop. What we found is a lot of them did not. Third grade typically is a tough grade anyway, because it's the first year they tested, as we're gonna find out next year.
I got a fourth grader now, so I got
Yeah, okay.
I
You're ahead of
experienced
me.
that already, but yeah,
Um,
our kids are in the same class.
Yeah.
That's-
So it didn't ring as many alarms as it might have if the standards hadn't changed. Not to say that 73% is acceptable and we're okay with it, but to us, it didn't indicate that there was necessarily a problem. It's just that it's a challenging test, and we've got to continue to execute the plans we have to improve our instruction.
So this is a larger question than just this, and I'm not expecting a full answer. But the concern that I have as both a board member and a parent is that we're teaching a lot to achieve test results. How are we balancing that to where obviously we want to teach them how to produce test results because that's the metric, but you don't, that's not life. In my last 20 years, I have yet to be tested on any material other than on the actual workforce. So how do we balance those?
That's a good question. You all please jump in. I think that any teacher will tell you they struggle with the concept of teaching to the test. And so we really try to encourage them. We give them the skills, the content they need to be successful on the test. But at the same time, every kid has different needs and different abilities. And so we really try to promote differentiation. We have a gifted plan that Ms. Bowyer is over, and we really talk about strategies to try to help push those kids beyond, not through more work, but deeper work. And if you read through our strategic plan, the focus of the whole plan is post-secondary readiness. And as we shared, third grade math, and it's also third grade reading. If we find that kids are successful there, that's a strong indicator that they're going to be successful later on. One of the biggest predictors of success in college is success in Algebra 1. So success on the test does matter, but if we can promote those transferable skills like understanding why, and we do a lot of like word problems, mathematical discourse. Those are more practical, real world solutions. Students can begin to see it as they go outside of school and hopefully they retain it after they leave. So just kind of summarizing that, we want to meet kids' needs and as much as we can make instruction practical and meaningful for them so it goes beyond the test. And so, our ultimate goal, and it's it's difficult to get there. I would almost like for the test, the SOL test, just to be it's not a big thing. We take the test, we're confident because we've worked hard every day. We know we're going to pass. We would love to go beyond those skills. And so that's a very big goal, but there are some kids that can do that. And we really encourage our teachers to go beyond with gifted plans and other differentiation.
I was gonna say, I would also say that while we use the data that we get from SOL test as a measure, what we are teaching in our classrooms are the standards, and with the rewriting of all the standards that have come between reading and math, there's been a greater emphasis on the application piece of it, and all of the high quality instructional materials that we've adopted over the last couple of years put emphasis on that real world application and that taking it beyond, and that's kind of how we're taking it out of the test realm and into how they would use it in the real world.
Mr. Hill, the discussion at the state level, is the length of the third grade test, and it's so overwhelming. This again, as was stated, this is their first time testing, and a lot of the feedback that I've seen in superintendent meetings is the request to have that test maybe minimalized a little bit, maybe shortened, so it's not so stressful for them, and that they can concentrate on basically the learning of and the application of, and not so much preparing for a test.
So I have a question. Ms. Bowyer, I'm glad you're here because you were integral in adopting the new curriculum, and I remember the excitement that you had about some of the features that have now completed their first year. And some of those features were the feedback that you could get about individual students so that you could tailor their teaching to their needs, the tools that were available so that the teachers could collaborate, not just from the same grade in the same school, but between all of the grades and all of the schools. How's the rubber hitting the road?
Honestly, this first year has been a lot about getting the teachers comfortable with the material. A lot of the digital access, thank you to approving it early on, was available to them before they left school last year. But the print materials didn't arrive until August, some of them September, depending on, just the when the shipping happened and printing delays. But basically this year has been a lot about learning their curriculum, figuring out where we need to supplement, where the holes are, because when you adopt a curriculum, you're not looking for the little minute things that are missing. And so we've been doing a lot of that. Year 2, we're going to spend a lot of time collaborating. We've got some planning sessions where all the 3rd grade teachers from the division are going to get together and look at pacing, supplemental, what lessons we're using, at the assessments we're using to teach it. And so that's kind of where we're going with that. I will say both companies have been very great about continuing to work with us on professional development. They're both coming back in August. And then they've been great about updating, creating new features. We even have even more new ones. In the K-5 curriculum, they've added some closed loop AI just between the curriculum and the teacher, where the teacher can say, hey, I have a co-teacher in my classroom, what's the best way to use her in this lesson? And then the AI will look through the lesson and say a good point of insertion might be here. So there's some great pieces that are coming out, some new features, great new printability from some of the digital aspects where we can print a little bit better from some of the features online. So it's positive still about all the ways we're going.
Look forward to better numbers next
I
year.
have a couple more questions. We've got a lot.
Yep.
That reminded me of the curriculum stuff and doing that. I know we are trying to keep the Chromebook issues under control. And a lot of math teachers were just handing out the Chrome work, and that's what the kids were doing mostly. How have you been able to monitor that and work with that?
We were able to purchase print textbooks for every like a class set for every middle school and high school. So they have classroom sets that they can use. It's the exact same stuff that's online. Addition to that, mainly where we're seeing in math the use of that is the Desmos calculator. We're seeing a lot of use of that, but that is the embedded state used calculator that's embedded into our SOL test that we have to teach students how to use. We have handheld ones as well, but we're seeing a lot of usage from that. And then just getting data from specific tests. When a student does math online, they're still being required to show all of their work paper pencil because you have to work all the problems out and things like that. So it's kind of a balancing act of seeing both print and digital.
So they're using the books then, or not?
They're using some of the books and then some of the interactive pieces that are online too. So it's a balancing act.
And one of the questions, one of the concerns that I keep hearing from parents is that they can do basic math, but they don't have any clue of how to, balance a checkbook or balance their bank accounts. Or I know that there was a requirement at one point that people had to use had to have a personal finance class. Is that still?
That's still the case.
That's still a requirement. And part of 7th and 8th grade math standards is consumer math, where they learn simple interest, checkbooking, they learn percent increase, percent decrease, sales price, discount, things like that. So consumer math is still part of our middle school math curriculum standards. So that's all being taught there in the 7th and 8th grade.
One of the things I had heard is the personal finance, if it's under 10th grade, they don't retain it because it's not really applicable to them yet. So is there any aspect of that in any of the curriculum above 10th grade?
Yeah, we've talked about that with program of studies. So 10th grade is the earliest they take it. We've really encouraged them to take it closer to senior year, the better, because we recognize the same thing. It's good information, but if you're not thinking along those lines, it's not going to be as practical. So I would certainly agree with that feedback.
So you are implementing it above?
Most kids will take it in 10th grade, but what we've talked about with our counselors and our administrators, when you're scheduling kids, if possible, wait as long as you can. And not all schedules allow that, but a lot of them do. So we're trying to wait as long as we can.
All right, any other questions? Thank you. All right, we're gonna move to 5.01 action items, is that correct?
So, last month we presented, the 4 federal title grants. So tonight we're asking for your approval. They have to be approved by the board by the end of June and submitted to the state so that we can, receive our federal funding. So we're just asking for approval for all 4.
Things have been presented in the past and reviewed. Does anybody have any questions? We have a motion for approval of the title grants.
So moved.
Moved, Mr. Gill. Do I have a second? Second, Ms. Thompson. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Those are approved. 5.02, approval of RFP, Mr. Hagler.
Yes, we had our FP, 7 responders, submitted proposals. The committee, recommended 2 to come for interviews, which we did in the work session today. So we're looking for guidance on which firm the board would like us to enter negotiations on and come up with a contract to do a redistricting analysis for our county. So take direction from the board on that.
So let's open that up for discussion. We had the presentation by the 2 companies and any feelings one way or another?
I want to introduce also a third option,
Okay.
just to make sure that we
Of course you are.
understand that we have the option also to not hire an outside firm, to do the redistricting ourselves. You know, obviously these firms are gonna be an additional sum of money.
Do we know how much?
Yes, yeah, it was on the RFPs.
Okay.
So I did kind of the quick math on what it would be if we did it in-house. And honestly, not that much less. You know, I figured about 400 hours of staff time spread out over about 5 to 6 months. The software to do these overlays that we would have to do is additional 10 to 15,000. Public meetings, communications, all this stuff we would have to do in-house. Honestly, about $5,000 less than it would be for to get a firm here. You know, 5 to 10,000 depends. And these are a lot of soft numbers that I'm using. If we do get our staff to do it, we are we've lost some opportunity costs there to where they're not gonna be able to get everything done, especially over the summer where I know a lot of the administration staff does a lot of the heavy lifting to get ready for the year. So I just want to make sure that is clear to both our board and to the public. There is a third option that we do it in-house, or obviously not to do it at all. We have the option to do it. I don't think that's tenable, but that is an option we have. So I just want to make sure that's expressed as well.
Respectfully, Mr. Hill, I disagree. I do not think that is a third viable option.
Okay.
I think that the having our staff attempt that is gonna take away from what they should be doing. And as such, I'm afraid that it'll actually hurt potential education of our kids. So I do not see that as a viable option personally. That being said, I'm very thankful that you and Matt sat through 7 presentations, so we didn't have to. And I think that the 2 finalists that you picked to look at those were both very strong candidates. I did have a preference for one of the candidates just because I feel like it's a better fit. We're going to get more data from it, but I also think that we definitely need to do a redistricting. There's no doubt about it in my mind that it's not something we need to propose. So at this time, are we interested in hearing about preferences? Or-
Yes, I believe we are. 'Cause
It-
I'll grab my notes while we're talking.
In my opinion, the second presentation, it was a much more, the demographic analysis, demographic analyst advisors, I'm gonna get this out.
I just call them DAA.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think is a better fit personally for Bedford County. And they are a little bit less expensive. But I think that the amount of data that they can provide us over the next 5 years is gonna be better for us to figure out a strategic growth plan. And what we can look at and how we can, some of the opportunities there that we have to kind of data mine some of their stuff gives us better logistical analysis as well. So I like them. I think it was a stronger, not that the other guys weren't great, but I feel like that's a stronger presentation to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with, I would agree with Jordan. The demographic analytics advisors were 49,000. MTG was 65. And I feel like they offered a little bit more, even though it's a lower price. Maybe they wouldn't have just about the price either. I like how he took the time to actually look into it. You know, I feel like the other I just feel like the second company would be more attentive to us versus the first one, just because they're a bigger company. Like I say, I'm sure they're both comparable, they could do it, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I'm kind of on with these two guys as far as, and I will admit I have Virginia bias, so I like when companies from Virginia. Really impressed with the big thing to me. The one thing that I was really looking forward to was I love a good spreadsheet. I love a good data. This DA had a lot of data that we'd be able to share with the public. So to me, that kind of married my two things I was looking for. I was looking for data exposure and public input. And that kind of does a great job in their one platform there that they showcased. I think MGT has a larger team. I think they have more experience. I believe DA has only been around for 4 or 5 years. Obviously, he has a lot of experience at whole, but just his company himself. I think if we were wanting to go back through and do like a facility analysis of all of our facilities and capacity numbers and that sort of thing, I think MGT may be the stronger candidate. But I feel like through the last 5 years or so, Mr. Hagler, we've done a pretty thorough analysis of our facilities. I've been on the public side of this back in 22, and I've been very comfortable with how the analysis has reshaped. Outside of just using consulting numbers from 2003, was that the last time we had a consultant come in for that?
We've done several studies, but with the other executive staff looking at our buildings, and then with the facility committee, we actually, at least for our elementary schools, we really show our methodology of how we're calculating our capacity. So very transparent there, you know, and as some of the presenters said, there's a lot of different ways to do it, show capacities, but what is your methodology is a good one. I think both we're going to check on ours, not that they're going to produce it, but they're going to say, is that good? I think our middle school and high schools were done by other firms in the past, and we're still using those. We have not redone that.
I was appreciative of DA actually. I feel like they did a lot of the footwork, before they even brought the presentation in. They understood our metrics. They understood. They dove into it. I'm sure MGT could do a fine job as well, but with MGT being the higher bidder, but also being that if we wanted to get them to help us facilitate community involvement, it was going to be even more money, to where DA has that kind of wrapped in on what they've provided in their base scope. So I'm going to agree with my compatriots here, and I really like DA for pairing up with them for this redistricting study.
questions, comments?
I think I'm kind of on the same page with everybody else. I thought both candidates were great. I thought DAA was unique with the accessibility and continued accessibility to the data that we would have access to. And I thought that was a really important aspect to have eyes on it continually, so that we don't get to these points where it's changes are being made for an entire county. It's kind of being more proactive for the future, so that's where I'm leaning.
I'm also leaning towards DAA. One of the things that he said that struck me the most was that he wants to understand what kind of a county we have, so that he can understand how best to present it to the public. And if we need to do it right away or in stages. One thing I have to say is that if we're gonna spend the money, we need to kind of come up with a plan to actually implement it instead of just setting it aside again. So that really was important, and he made it very clear of how to make sure that we not only do all of the analysis and figure it all out, but also how to deal with the public and how to implement it, whether it's stages, whether it's immediate, whether there's things that need to be tweaked or changed or whatever, and the collaboration with not only the administration, but also the public, and being as transparent as possible. All of those things, I felt like he was more than just a person who's gonna give you the analytics. He's gonna actually be a public relations asset as well.
I do have one additional question for Mr. Hackett. So obviously we've approved a budget for the upcoming year, or are working on approving budgets. To my understanding, this was not in the budget. So I just wanna be clear where that money is coming
I
from.
would recommend to the board, I mean, we could look at that downstream, how the budget's coming in next year, see if we're coming in under budget, we can do that, but out of the gate, I would say we'd probably look at the maintenance reserve fund to pay for this time.
Cause we have a ton of money in there, don't we? But yeah,
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
if you're asking me right now, I mean, if
Yeah.
we have later in the agenda a kind of revised budget, we may be able to come back and amend that, you know, in July after the state does that and build this in there. But it's not
Is the
built
state
in,
gonna do it in
it's
July?
not built in there, built in there right now. There's-
That's, and so that's why I just wanna make sure that we are laying out also is that, again, we work with a zero sum budget. Whatever we do spend on this, we're not spending on something else. We're not spending on Chromebooks or, you know, repairing a roof or, you know, whatever that would be. I just wanna make sure that everyone understands that that's part of our budget process as well.
Well, I'm actually a little surprised because I thought somebody would have favored MGT over the SAA. But I had a lot of the same feelings that even though the other group has a deeper bench, that this guy was much more Bedford County oriented. I like the fact that he's not far away, that he has a smaller team, that the whole thing seemed a lot more personable. And a more inclusive package as well, and a lower price tag doesn't hurt anything. Both probably very capable. So this is up for an action item, so we need to take action on it. I think
You wanna make a
everybody,
motion, somebody
we
make.
need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that
Excuse
we,
me, Mr. Hubble, I'm
Ms.
sorry,
Johnson,
so
aye.
make sure Mr. Hagler has what he needs. What exactly does he make a motion for, to enter into negotiations with?
Yes, the board to make a motion to direct staff to enter negotiations with your preferred firm, and we'll do that to come up with a contract. There's not a signed contract I can sign tonight, we've gotta make sure we have everything in there and have legal look at it. So that's what the board's voting on tonight.
Well, in which case, we probably ought to at least take a consensus opinion that everybody favors SAA
DAA.
or DAA, excuse me. I have
Yeah.
consensus, yes, yes.
Yes.
So we have unanimous consensus for that, so We need a motion.
Yep.
No, we're gonna need a vote and
Yeah.
then, we'll go ahead and execute that contract. We don't have to bring it back. Unless we could not, then we move on to number 2 in our committee, but I don't expect that.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to allow administrative staff to enter negotiations with demographic analytics advisors for the RFP redistricting.
I second that.
Mr. Holbrook, Mr. Hill, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Discussion. Ayes have it. Right, Weston Village, Mr. Hagler.
Yes. We've made, basically, in the last 2 meetings, we've made presentations on Weston Village and potential overcrowding for Forest Elementary next year. Presented that data to the public, to the board. There's been public comment, and so we bring it back to the board tonight to see if there's any action on that, those presentations, and we'll take direction from the board.
Any discussion on Weston Village?
Yes, always discussion.
Always
There's
discussion.
always something I want to discuss. So I just want to make sure we're getting, as we're projecting, moving towards the beginning of the school year. Mr. Hagler, your projections last month were 773 students for Forest Elementary School. 300, I'm sorry, I got mixed up there. 373 students, sorry. Is that still, are we still running for that? I know,
We haven't rolled the year. We'll watch projections through. We're gonna roll the year in our student information system later this month with our data people. We'll watch that. Dr. Calvert, Dr. Whitford, and I watch that throughout the summer as enrollees come in to see if we have any problems, anything like that. So I'd say right now, that's still my projection. But the caveat to that projection, and I know some in the public may disagree, but do we have the full impact of Weston Village reflected in that projection or not? That's the unknown. And I'm just being honest with my limited capability to do those types of projections on the house. We do the best we can. First of all. So I will say that with staffing wise, they would have less staffing next year than they did this year. So one less teacher. So they could go up one more teacher if they have more students and still kind of do what they were doing this year, though they did give up their music room. So those are the caveats and those are the demographics, the unknowns.
how flexible are we at that school for, let's say, it doesn't take long to go from 387 is capacity to above that. If we're projecting at 373, how agile are we to go, all right, we end up having 400 students in here?
This is just me, and I'll let the instructional staff or Dr. Whitford jump in, but as I just said, we're gonna go down one staff member from what we had this year. So if we get another 20, 25 kids, another staff member would come back in and they would be functioning like what they did this year. We get another 50 or 60, I don't know where that other room comes from, and instructional staff would work with the principal on that. And I don't know, Dr. Whitford, you want to add on that, but I think you have a little bit of flexibility there.
It's rare for a school to go up in just a few weeks that much. To go up 25, 26 students, that just really doesn't happen. You get a pretty good projection on kindergarten that may be a little higher than you think. But there's just a lot of movement in the summer. So usually you get one leaves kind of thing. So we rarely see numbers in the summer go way up. If they go over projection, and it indicates they need another teacher, that's based on our staffing standards. That loss of one staff member was an additional staff member we gave them with All in Virginia money to make their class sizes lower last year because the board had voted to change that staffing standard. So when we say they're losing a teacher, they're not losing a teacher because of staffing standards. They're losing a teacher because we don't have that pot of money from the state. So we would make adjustments. I mean, we've had Forest Elementary bigger than that. And we would figure it out.
When Forest Elementary was larger, how did we figure that out?
I'm sorry, what?
How did the administration figure that out? What did it
Well,
look like?
they did have, how many classes in mobiles? 4, 2?
Yeah, I think they had 4 classrooms.
Yeah, their resources were in mobiles. You know, we've talked about if schools go over, what can you do? I mean, no one wants to do it, but music teachers can go to classrooms and art teachers can go to classrooms. It's not ideal. I'm not saying it's the best case scenario, but if there needed to be a temporary solution, until we could figure out what we wanted to do, that's definitely doable.
This past year, we did music on the stage as a classroom. If we decided to do music on a cart, the proposal to use that stage as a classroom then, or just keep it, that would be your,
I don't think it would be a good classroom because of its location. You'd have to work your whole schedule. It's easier to work a resource schedule around that. Before I'd put somebody on a cart, I'd leave music there for another year probably. With that loss of one teacher, they've gotten that classroom back. It's only if, you know, they go up more and they get another teacher, and I don't know how far they are away from getting another teacher. We haven't, it's hard to tell until we roll over, because during this month, students are unenrolling, going to other schools, students are enrolling. Not everyone we think is gonna enroll may come. We have school transfers going on, so we'll have a better idea a little bit after June 23rd.
I know usually, like I said, later on in the summer, will become more solidified. The problem I have is it's later on in the summer. If we had to move in a mobile unit or something like that, timeline roughly. I know we talked about with Goodview, 8 to 12 weeks, something like that.
I think physically moving one and getting one, but we have to run through the whole permitting process, all that, I think that really holds up a lot.
Thought we
to get
already
that-
had everything over there.
You did, but, you know, you gotta put it back and.
But it's already there, the permitting's only for the footings and electrical.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what, I'm just being honest, I'm not,
Right.
I'd have to ask Chuck Cash Maintenance and stuff, what they would think the estimated time to get them up running there, wouldn't be there for the start of school.
Yeah, let's say, because if we waited until July, there would be, you know, we wouldn't be able to get it there for the start of school.
The other thing that we did for Otter River several years ago, and it's not pleasant, but there are students on zone transfer there who could be revoked. The board also, part of that large 5th grade number is those students who were grandfathered in with the last redistricting we did from Forest to TJ. So as we're going into the school year, we have students at the school that are no longer districted for that school. I think you just have to think about which bite is worse. But we did that at Otter River because we had large class sizes and we were talking about, you know, a few kids at each grade level that we revoked transfers on rather than adding a teacher at about, what, $90,000, $80,000. I don't know, I mean, it's something I could look at. Most of the kids who are there were grandfathered in or they are employees' children. And I'm not just talking about Forest Elementary employees. I'm talking about Forest Middle, Jefferson Forest High School. But what we promise employees is that we'll get them in a school near where they work. So Otter River, TJ, I mean,
Year's a nebulous term.
I'm sorry, what?
Year is a nebulous term sometimes.
And so you said that 5th grade class was, so that's your largest class at 86 is what we're projecting. What would it take, how many students would you have to lose in order to go down? You know, if we let's say we revoked grandfathering, would that do enough to give us a classroom back?
I'd have to do a little.
Kids that didn't move, right?
Yeah, there were,
I know it's like
How many were?
42, right?
how many are
Yeah.
still there from the
We
prior
don't-
redistricting?
Yeah, and then how many were grandfathered in? And let's say it was all 42, but if they're all spread out,
They're
and you
spread
don't,
out.
and you don't lose a class.
The redistricting was all from the, like,
Yeah,
this
but-
area.
Remember, we have that spreadsheet for Forest Elementary, the yes and the no's.
Yeah, we'd have to,
I mean, I could get it to you.
I'm sorry, usually I give you my questions before.
While
yeah,
you're
well, I
explaining.
mean, we're just thinking about the data there and making sure to speak and give you guys good direction on this. Are you talking about those that are going there right now that are not zoned?
Yeah, so the ones that are not zoned for there right now, if, not saying that's the decision that we should make, but if we did decide to do a blanket relocation of all of that, is it so spread out to where even if we did that, we wouldn't lose a classroom anyway, so it really would be
I
a
got
moot point?
Oh, what grade levels? You lose
Be a
two
moot
here,
point
two
here.
there.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't really.
But fifth grade is a larger group because of the grandfathering.
And so I guess my big question is, if we, we brought that up, if that's a route we choose to maybe alleviate some pressure, but if it doesn't lose a classroom, what's the point?
Because we allocate the, staffing based upon the school total population, not by grade level. At near 40 kids, you would go down. I'm pretty confident in that. Because you take the whole thing, we have a different staffing for K through 3, then 4th and 5th is a little bit higher. And so, but if you put all those in there, at 40, you're gonna go down at least one. It depends on where it rounds, so I'm pretty confident in that. But, how would the principal allocate that across? What would the class sizes be with going down another teacher, and where would the principal allocate those? I can't give you those class sizes right now.
And that's right, I was just wanting to make sure if that's something we discussed, that it would make sense. With Weston Village, we've not realized the potential full impact of what we have, we just don't quite know yet.
Well, I
That's
mean,
kinda
there's
where
been a
we're
lot
at.
of discussion on that. You heard some public comment on that,
Mhm.
which would argue that we have. I know with the facility committee, we're like unknown about that. That's why it was like something we brought up to the board. I just don't know. I don't know if all those units were occupied, and we felt the full impact of that. It could be like our presenters tonight saying, you're expecting this from an apartment complex that's on building on previous models, but not as many are coming anymore. That might be true, or they weren't all fully occupied and we don't know who's there now. So I don't know which one it is.
And we don't have any current numbers on it. Correct.
No, it's not gonna really flow in. June 23rd is when we're gonna roll, and we'll start seeing that, and then it depends on the community and the parents actually enrolling, especially the kindergartens, before you start seeing that. So if they're delayed in getting on and getting that enrollment done, we don't see the numbers show up. A lot of times, we talk to the principals, they have information from people showing up and saying they're gonna enroll, but they haven't done anything, and we're not seeing it here yet. So sometimes in those circumstances, we're talking to the principal and going, what are you seeing? We're not seeing it here. Oh, I got 20 that have come in and picked up packages.
Yeah.
We got 20 more coming. And now, in the past, we've made decisions, 20 more coming, give it another teacher, and then they don't show up.
Yeah.
So we're very careful up there in spending money until they kind of show up and you prove it. So we'll be watching it very closely.
We made every week.
As a parent of a rising kindergartner who has not registered my student yet, I get it.
So I did say that as of this afternoon, I know we projected 48 for kindergarten at Forest Elementary School, 48 or 49. And they have 51 registered kindergarten. So it can only go up. I mean, I know it can also go down, because I think they lost a couple as well. At one point, they had 53 registered kindergarten students. And I think my concern is a handful of students in every class, will happen really quickly. The projection's 373, and you said that they'll probably need to have an additional 20 students in the school to have another teacher. That would bring Forest Elementary at capacity, which is 387. So I think the concern is for them to have that 19th teacher, they will be 100% capacity, which is already something that's impacting that school and the pressures there. And I think that's my concern. I had asked earlier in the week for, as far as extra support at Forest Elementary, it's 400 students to get an assistant principal. Now, if the projection of 30 additional students from Weston Village came over there, they would be over 400 students if that happens, but of course, nobody can can know that, and everybody's projecting. But that's not a given at 400 students that they would get an assistant principal. Is that correct?
It usually has to be sustained.
So even if they had
More than just a, like,
three
jump up
hundred
down.
and 98, so we're talking close to 400. Just, I mean, I feel like there's additional challenges with schools that are at or over capacity. And I just see a need for extra support. I understand that that's the staffing standard. But, I mean, would there be an opportunity for more support for schools that are at capacity or above capacity? I know that that's also financially.
For an assistant principal,
For an assistant principal.
so the conversation we had this week was about that population would have to be sustained. So
Right.
you put an assistant principal there and then for whatever reason, people exit, then you take that away. So there just has to be consistency, it has to be sustained.
Okay, cause I see it as a school that has been tinkering at capacity for so long. They need additional assistance and it's just really hard to say, hey, you've gotta have an additional 15 students, another classroom, still no support. So that's just something that I've been thinking about, that do we keep all the kids there, stay at close at capacity, but they still don't even get any sort of relief? And also if they hit that, we're looking at a mobile as well, which is additional costs, so. I mean, I feel like it can go either way. I do have a question about Otter River. If,
I think we're gonna need to pause
Okay.
so that we
Yep.
can go to our public comment at 6 o'clock and then we can come back to you and continue our Weston Village.
sounds good.
So at this time, we are going to take public comments. Somewhere in my folder, I believe, is something for me to read, right?
Yes.
Somewhere in here, right, Ms. Johnson?
Very back.
Very back. There it is. All right. Public comment portion of tonight's agenda is limited to 40 minutes. Speakers are asked to state their name and voting district. The school board is here to listen to your comments, but will not engage or respond to speakers during this 40-minute period. Please remember that this is a public meeting and that we expect all speakers to refrain from any foul, profane, abusive, or hateful language during their comments or any time while in attendance during this meeting. We also ask that speakers keep their remarks objective and about the school in nature. Please keep all comments limited to matters related to public schools, and any comments that are harassing or amount to a personal attack against any identifiable individual, their board member, or staff, or student, or having the potential to cause unnecessary delay or disruption to this meeting are prohibited. This is a public meeting for public matters. If a speaker is not present when their name is called, we will proceed with the next name on the list. An individual who has not signed up to speak may not substitute for that time slot. Individuals will have 4 minutes to address the board. An alarm will sound when an individual has 30 seconds remaining, and a second alarm will sound when the allotted 4 minutes have expired. When the second alarm sounds, please discontinue speaking and allow the next person in line to come to the podium. Should you be unable to finish your comments, please send or give them to Mrs. Johnson, and she will give them to board members. Please do not adjust the microphone at the podium as it has been positioned for optimal audio quality. We have nobody registered for public comment this evening, but if there's anyone present who would like to speak, now is your moment. And if we have no takers, we will close our time for public comment and return to our agenda. You have the floor.
My question about Otter River. you had said earlier that Otter River is not open to transfers because they are small. And how, I know that it would have to kind of even out throughout the school, but would a student base coming over from Weston Village allow Otter River to have more of the ability to accept transfer students?
That's hard to predict because I'd have to look grade level by grade level, and we haven't really looked at that. Have you, Randy? I haven't looked
I
grade
think in the
level.
presentation, we showed grade level configurations, presentations I presented on what ifs. But once again, we gotta get back in enrollment. So with Otter River, yeah, some kids might come over if might solve some problems, but cost others. It's still kind of a smaller school. So we can't, it almost be grade level by grade level to look at. You might have one class or two classes that are approaching 25 and you don't want to take any more. Because it's gonna push it to 26 or 27 for a grade level. You might have one at 19, you say, yeah, I can take one, and go to 20. So kind of, that's how it gets with the smaller schools. It's kind of, you gotta look very specific. Wish I could give you a straight answer on that, but it really gets grade level specific.
Just a question, the information on our board doc says that there's A, B, and C, 3 different possibilities for choosing for Weston Village redistricting. The third one is, wait for redistricting study, recommendations. And I didn't ask that question, but how long do they expect that before we get the recommendations from these redistricting?
The RFP that I put out was, as one of them presented, the timeline was doable. So the idea was that if we could get a report by October, the board could take November and going into December to get feedback from the community, make sure we communicate it all, do whatever you wanted to do. I'm not sure what you want to do, but plenty of time to kind of look through it and stuff. Make it December or January, so we have time to do things. So I expect to have something, either something presented to you in October that give you 3 or 4 options or a redistricting plan after much back and forth feedback before that. A lot of transparency there. So we
So
expect to have something for the new year. Yeah.
Implementation for the 27-28 school year then?
Completely possible, yes. The longer we delay into next year and if it impacts all the zones and stuff and a lot of movement, then it gets harder for us to manage that. But I think that was the idea that you guys could consider it for the 27-28 year. Yes, ma'am.
I do have an additional
Sure.
question. So I know that there were some areas where the impact could be negative. Like we know that not all students are still going to be at Weston Village that are gonna be affected, whether they change, they move, whatever. But it did look like a class had a very high number. If Weston Village was broken up into 2 entities and 10 students, because there is the townhomes and then there is the apartments, would that make any impact, or would that be more of a negative impact for Otter River?
I have to go back and look at where the kids are located. It's not done.
Okay,
I think the majority of the kids are in
the apartments.
apartment
There was about
complexes
10.
and maybe 9 or 10 in townhomes or in the front area. So I think the majority of the kids are in the apartments.
All right, so what do you need from us on this, Randy?
Well, we've presented this that I think it came up going way back, a couple presentations ago, saying, New London and Forest Elementary were 2 that were our most concerns. And then we brought back Forest Elementary as a potential redistricting, and we brought it back, and we brought it back again and did public comment. Staff needs directions. Do we go ahead and redistrict Weston Village to Otter River for the 26-27 year? Do we do 27-28, or do we wait for the redistricting? And if we were gonna do it for the 26-27 year, then we need further directions on what do we do about grandfather? Because the last redistricting we did grandfather. And that delays fixing the problem. So we got all those things to kind of consider, so we'll ask more questions of the board. What's that?
Vote? We gotta have a vote.
Well, I've got one other, as far as a plan, a contingency plan for overcapacity, like, let's say we do hit overcapacity this summer, there's just no more classrooms left.
Yeah.
How quickly can it go into effect that we do something at Forest Elementary School?
I'm sorry, I
I
can't
think
hear what you
because of
guys
air
are saying.
conditioning.
It's all right, I know I have a soft voice.
I think the
as well.
question is that if we go over capacity at Forest Elementary, how quickly can we move with a contingency plan to deal with that overcapacity? In terms of either putting in a mobile unit or
You would just add another
moving
staff member
students.
or teacher.
Well, capacity is really about total numbers. I mean, you could go, like New London has been at 104% capacity, but they have been able to fit in classrooms. It's, so it's not like, it's not like that is like the magic number, because I don't know how to explain it, Randy, but you know,
It's not like a fire
Not the end of
pit
the
where
world
you
here.
cannot
Exactly.
exceed this number.
Exactly.
That there's a little wiggle room.
It's the ideal number based off of a metric that you guys applied to it,
thank
essentially.
you. Yes,
So,
because I'm not a math
Also,
person.
do we really anticipate having a 5% increase in that school in the next 3 weeks?
Well,
I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a 5% increase in total number of students at that school in the next 3 weeks.
That'd be like 15 kids.
To put us in at capacity,
14 something,
and
yeah.
I just don't anticipate that happening. If it did, it'd be amazing. We'd get a lot more money from the state, so I'm excited about it, but I don't think that would happen.
But if we're projecting 48, right now we're enrolled at 51, just in the kindergarten class.
Right.
Just
Yeah, if you're checking
that-
49 for next year.
49,
So
excuse me,
one for
49, so
kindergarten.
that would be 4 point something percent. So that would be almost it right there, if those numbers hold true throughout the year.
Right.
That's what I,
So again, but typically kindergarten's gonna be your biggest variable.
Yeah.
So if you get a 1 to 2% increase, and it could go either way, I just don't anticipate seeing a 15% or a 15 kid
That's what
increase
students, yeah.
this year. In my opinion,
And I guess
we got a
the,
redistricting coming out in October that we just voted on, so I think, why get everybody all fired up? That's where I'm at.
if you go back and you look at the history of this attendance zone, we have obviously presented this presented this overcrowding year after year after year.
Right.
To the point of like 7 or 8 times that Forest Elementary in New London has been in there, but yet nothing has been done other than grandfathering and those types of things. So when you look at those issues, the initiatives that you have to consider really quickly is the fact is what impact does grandfathering have? And number 2, if that happened and you couldn't you needed an extra classroom and you didn't want to put them on, or you did want to put them back on the stage, you picked up a room or whatever the scenarios are, and how fast can you get a portable or multiple portables? Those are the initiatives that we've been kind of discussing all the way through this. But the bottom line is, I'm gonna go back to what Mr. Carnes just said, is we've got a redistricting coming. And what I don't want to put this staff through is moving people and then unmoving people, because that causes more of a crisis. So there are simple solutions here, but we're in the process of, and that's why we set this up and made them basically give us feedback by October. Because we need to do this quickly, and thank you for supporting the fact that we need to do it tonight by all of you agreeing to this company. Because that's step 1. Step 2 is getting the basis of this discussion in October, and then you have a decision to make after you take this to the public, is how do we enact this next summer? That's really what this discussion's been about. And I'm for as little interruption as we can get through this process. So we've dealt with overcrowding at these schools before. If this is the scenario, this principal we'll deal with it again.
Yeah, I say we need to wait. That's just my opinion.
I have one question. How can we get more support for a school that has no more room? I mean, utilizing every single space. So if there's a behavior issue in a classroom, there's nowhere to go. If there's behavior issues in multiple classrooms, there's nowhere to go. How can we get additional support?
So if there's a behavior issue, they go where everybody else goes, to the principal's office, to a counselor's office. I mean, in elementary school, nobody's ever alone. So they have to go to somebody's area. So, you know, all of our schools have those situations because there aren't behavior specialists, there aren't additional paras in any of our schools for that. And so counselors step in, other staff, the principal steps in, and I'll be honest, there aren't as many discipline issues at Forest Elementary as some of our other schools where they've got 2, 3, 4 kids they're trying to find a place for at times. So I think we could make it work long enough to see what the redistricting is. I
You
just think
talking-
it's very hard. I've been the one to have to tell parents they have to pull their kids out because we're revoking transfers. And, I mean, we've even approved some this year because they're employee kids. And so the principal never said she was concerned that by approving more employee students that she was gonna get overcrowded. So I just feel like we have some time. I don't know if that's a mobile or if we try to figure out if they need more support or if I don't know. I don't really know without the numbers in front of me when they qualify for another aide or when they qualify for an assistant principal. So I don't know that I can answer the question without the real numbers in front of me.
I think my concern is not necessarily the current projections. My concern is the unknown of a scenario where the high end of Mr. Happer's projections come true. And we're sitting here now with, what was it, additional 30 students that outside of your projections, is that about right? That's what makes me nervous.
But that would be across,
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I don't know
I mean, I
how,
don't know, you
yeah,
know.
I don't know how that currently works out.
I think, like I said.
Yeah.
We're gonna spend this money, $50,000 on these people to help us out. I think we need to wait and see what they say. And don't need to be jerking kids around and back and forth. I don't know how many emails I've gotten from people in Weston Village that said they've done talked to everybody that this is gonna affect, and only 4 people are staying. The rest of them are moving somewhere that will be in the Forest Elementary District. So if we did this, these people are willing to move. Whether they're renting or owning, I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think, even if we did it, I don't think it would work. If it's even an issue.
As many people as we think it would.
Mm-mm. I mean, I think it's a tight-knit little community there.
You know, just from the executive staff, Dr. Calvert, as soon as we roll the numbers, we meet weekly, sometimes twice a week. We're watching the numbers. We're talking to the principals. We'll give the board the best numbers we've got at the next July meeting. From what we're seeing in actual enrollment, talking to principals, we've got our eyes on this one in New London in particular. That's why we presented the enrollment data and why I worked with the facility committee. These were on like the alert list. That's why that's what we're talking about. So we'll keep the board updated on this, what we're actually seeing transpire. I think schools, a lot of times when I'm looking at numbers, they capture the incoming very quickly. They're slow to remove the outgoing. So sometimes all of a sudden, they're doing a lot better recently, but there'd be some schools where like, I got another 20 kids. It's like, well, you didn't tell me about the 15 that left. So we don't know what's happening here. I'm not saying that's happening here at all. We're trying to get good data. I think the principal's aware that to get the data in, people put it in, so we know where we stand as soon as possible. We're hypersensitive.
I'd like to make one more comment. As a teacher, a former teacher, I taught 5th grade with 28 students in my class. it was a tough year. It was a lot of kids. But it wasn't because of how many seats I had in my classroom. What was most important was the support. And if we have to put another, paraprofessional or somebody else to help cover some of the issues that, overcapacity in some areas, I think that would be a better solution for this year anyway. Than to have to, worry about how many chairs you can fit in the classroom. Usually you can reconfigure things and do things to make the, seats fit, or, I've been a music teacher that had to travel. It wasn't fun. My degree is music education, and, I had to travel with a cart, but it happens, and other schools have done it. It's not ideal. It's not something you wanna do long-term, but there's something to say that there can be some adjustments that can be done at least temporarily, and that's part of being a teacher, is just, flowing with what's happening and making some adjustments, and knowing that hope is, that help is coming soon, hopefully, and it won't only be this year or whatever. I think that's a better scenario than moving a whole bunch of kids and then moving them back, or moving them to a totally different school. I mean, it's just too many changes for families, and it doesn't bode well in the community for our just for Bedford County being known as somebody that just keeps shifting kids. I just think that's not a good idea, personally.
Well, I think that the action item that's on the table is whether we redistrict Weston Village to Otter River or not. And it's obvious that we know there's an impending problem. The storm clouds are brewed, and we're just waiting for the lightning to start flying, and so we're making action for it. That's why we've agreed on a consulting group, and we need to hear their wisdom. The community, I think, is looking for us to, get an outside opinion, so that it's not an in-house decision solely, so that there's more objectivity involved. So we need a motion as to what will happen with Weston Village.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the redistricting of Weston Village, transferring it from Weston Village to the Otter River Zone.
Okay, we have a motion for the redistricting of Weston Village to Otter River. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Dobson. Right. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
All that are opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay,
Need to poll the board, sorry.
yes.
Ms. Dobson,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Holbrook,
No.
Dr. Hubach,
No.
Mr. Carnes.
No.
Ms. Purvis. No. The noes are the prevailing vote.
Thank you for everybody for your questions and input. It's a difficult decision to make, but I think in the long run, it's gonna bear fruit. All right, do we have another action item? Mr. Hagler, carryover reappropriation, cut down.
Yes, and going through the budget process and working very closely with the board of supervisors and negotiating on the budget and many other things. We have some property that really is not suitable for a school to be built on. I don't think it's large enough in the location. They're interested in obtaining that property to build a park. That's what's communicated to us. And throughout the budget, and trying to help us out with our operating budget and also our self-insurance health fund. Before you tonight is the resolution to deem this property surplus to revert it back over to the county. And there's also a deed attached, which Dr. Hubach, you can sign and we would turn that over to the county, and they would execute that deed and take possession of that property. Be happy to answer any questions you have about that. That's on Cotton Town Road.
That is contingent on what? Or that we're just giving it,
It was in
or
good
show of
faith.
good
for-
faith kind
It-
of deal.
yes.
It is a show of good faith.
In the resolution, it says that their intent is to put a park there, but it's not specifically listed in the deed. And, that's, you know, negotiations, the budget process, and also the transfer, which they did earlier this week, of $3.5 million to our health fund to share that up.
So, which they would have to do anyway.
We need to be solid. So
Well,
it's gotta come
I'm just
from somewhere.
saying, I mean,
So
yeah,
that's-
right.
that's-
Right. So we're voting on on.
You're just
Right.
giving it to them, right?
Yes, ma'am.
They needed it and we needed them. And
But they gonna get, I mean,
It just,
it's all taxpayers' money is what I'm saying.
it is.
You know, and it's, to me, it just seems like they're up there acting like they're willing and dealing with taxpayers' money. When that's not the case. Hey, you give us this piece of property, we'll give you the money that we're supposed to give you anyway. That ain't like what it is, that's exactly what it is. And it just, yeah, I don't like it. That's not right.
Well,
How much land has the school given back to the county? Since the past 20 years? $10 million worth? I mean, who knows? Been a lot. Well, I'm just saying, I guess we're open for discussion, right?
yes.
I'll answer that after I say all that, but. I mean. Well, that's what I got to say about it.
Yeah.
Feel like,
I mean, we don't have use for the property.
we can sell it for some money. We got use for money. That's why I look at it, you know?
We do.
I mean, we're gonna spend 50,000.
Yep.
But you were just talking about ain't in the budget.
It's true.
Stuff's going up, deal's going up.
Yeah, but I feel like we did get a value for it. I get what you're saying.
No, we didn't. They have to pay that. Or what would happen if that didn't happen?
We'd have to pull it out of our.
operating or.
we would have to go
And then,
significantly on operating, which probably,
And then
the only way you're gonna balance that is reduce staff.
And then
So-
they do not have to fund us.
Let's say, I think,
We would have to cut staff, we would have to do a lot of things, or we'd have to increase. What it really did is it kept us from having to increase our healthcare by an astronomical percent. So that it helps the employees retain a little bit more of their money. I mean, realistically, what this did, and to be honest with you, I understand you're fired up, and hey, man, that's awesome. Stay there. I like it when you're fired up. This is great. But in reality, to me, this is the first time that I can remember. And again, I'm not very old. I'm 43 years old. So, you know, Mr. Hackman makes me look young. But this is the first time that I can remember that the board of supervisors is willing to not only enter into negotiations with us, but go above and beyond what we're even asking for. If we can deed them over a piece of property we have no use for, to continue that line of dialogue, my gosh, I wish I had more I could give. I mean,
well, I'm
because-
sure that's what they're gonna be
Well,
expecting. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know, I just,
don't have anything.
that's right, we're about out of, yeah, right. And I understand it's for the healthcare, extreme increase.
it was drastic. And
Right, but the thing is, that's where our funding comes from. If we have an increase, obviously we're being underfunded. But you know, I mean,
well,
you know, maybe not if their fault, but whatever, on all levels.
well, but you also,
I don't-
you know, we're also losing, we're losing students. I mean, a lot of our funding comes from student population.
Right, that's right.
We're losing student population year over year. We've had abnormal, 3 years of expenditures to our healthcare that is just, which, not just here, they're
Right.
in most sectors, they've been having.
This is happening, I would say,
Yeah.
across the board with
Yeah.
school districts, but also other sectors.
And I think right now, just, you see it in several surrounding counties in our region. Yes, schools are coming up with a funding issue. But really, schools have had a funding issue for a little while. It just got all covered up by COVID money. Now the COVID money's has dissipated, you know.
I mean, Roanoke City's cutting their budget by 14 million,
168.
you know,
Yeah.
and thankfully,
Mr. Holbrook, this is a bigger picture too, with, I understand where you're coming from. But you understand, and this is, really goes into 5.06, adopting a budget, which we're gonna get to in a minute. This is compounded by the fact that the state has not started or even begun to work on the budget process. The House delegates don't come for 7 more days to Richmond, and the Senate doesn't come till 5 or 6 days after that. And there has to be something issued to us, the counties and the city schools, or there's gonna be another issue where we might have to go back to the Board of Supervisors and have discussions. So I will echo what Mr. Carnes is saying. Thank goodness we've got in discussions, and that's why I thanked them tonight, because for the longest time, I was told, don't waste my time going over and starting relationships, but by golly, if you don't have that, you have nothing. And so I understand where you're coming from, but understand that this, as Mr. Carnes said, has been going on long enough where there hasn't been discussion. I'm thankful there is discussion, and it may get worse, not from the standpoint of Board of Supervisors, but it may get worse when the state does not do what they're supposed to do, because all of the parties can't come together and resolve the budget issue. And there is a big separation right now. So, thank goodness we've built a budget where if they come back and they say, you're only giving a 2%, and we've built in 3%, we've got some money. But if they, there's so much up in the air right now.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is a bad thing. I think we're gonna need each other more as we move through this process over the next year or two.
And I, kind of echoing that a little bit to where, yes, we are an arm of the county. They would need it to keep us afloat. But they don't need to keep us.
But it's at no fault of ours that this came up. But they're saying like, hey, we'll rescue you.
Yeah,
It's your
but
land.
no,
I just, and I get what you're saying, you're glad to start a relationship, but that's not a very good one.
But I think,
Yeah.
looking at the assessed value of that piece of property versus the $3.5 million, we're getting a heck of a deal.
No, you're missing the point. They gotta give us the damn $3.5 million, period. What if we didn't have that land to give them?
But they don't have to do anything. They could.
Well,
they
we could
let
shut the
us-
schools down and then when everybody comes to the door, we say, hey, you didn't get any funding.
But I don't think
All the
they-
teachers left because we didn't have health care. I mean,
But I think
that's where I'm at,
we would
you
still
know.
pull it out of funding. We would have to create the funding. And we could pull it out of operating funds, which would mean, we'd be in a place like Roanoke County
right.
where we'd have to cut positions, but instead of being in that place, we get to be in a place where, hey, let's give them a piece of land that we ain't gonna use anyway.
Yeah.
Instead of going the opposite
I mean, I know,
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
get what you're saying.
it's-
I just,
We could be in
I
the
had
same
to say it.
position that Roanoke County is in.
It's the lesser
We're-
of two evils.
We are not in that position because the Board of Supervisors has agreed to help us out more than they have to. I get your point, what you're saying,
Right.
but I think I'm in a more of a position to where we could easily been in a Roanoke County position where they go, we don't have the money for it, we gotta build a new sheriff's department, or, excuse me, Roanoke City, excuse me, I conflate those all the time.
It's okay.
If I could interject, I know it's more discussion, but Matt, been here for 20 years. This is the first time discussions have happened. I think we have headwinds in the next 2 or 3 years with the end of reversion and other things happening and challenges. So I think the dialogue that started was with this and was a good first step. You do this, you do this. I think there's a recognition that we've got challenges in the next 2 or 3 years. Because when reversion ends, the gap that we're existing, and then long-term funding of the maintenance reserve fund is, we gotta, you can't just let your buildings fall apart. and you just keep pulling out of operating where you have 40 kids in class. I mean, before the community says, we gotta do this. So I think there's that recognition. I take it as a positive dialogue, though there's gotta be a lot of other things happening in the next few years.
Because we're gonna, this is a good faith effort, because we're gonna need them a lot in the
More.
next couple of years. With, I don't know what's gonna go off the state budget. I don't think they know what's going on with the state budget. Have reversion coming up, we're gonna need them.
And to be perfectly honest with you, this is me. I'd rather see that property become a park. I'd rather see it become something for the community as opposed to a housing development or something
Yeah,
else.
well, I don't disagree with that.
And
Cause that's what it would be.
It's
If we
the
sold
only
it,
way-
if we
the only
sold
way
it
to-
off, that's what it would become.
that's the only way to make it. That's, you know, that's just me.
Right.
Now, there's some contractor watching this right now going, I'm gonna get that guy, but that's just the way I feel. So,
And for
I
our
knew it was
part,
safe.
the
Don't reach out.
resolution at the beginning of, before the deed, it does stipulate that that is our understanding and expectation from the Board of Supervisors that this will be green space and turned into a park. So that, they're not beholden to that, but that's the handshake.
I'd love to see JF get a new ball field.
And
Oh, you
Of
are
course you
asking for it
would.
now.
of course you
Well,
would.
ask not, receive not. So we need a motion to approve this. We have a motion from the board.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the, to have executive staff, sign over the property.
Would be,
Is that
you
the
can read the
motion?
very bottom. You're authorizing the chairman.
You're authorizing
Right.
me.
Dr. Chuback's acting as chairman tonight, so you're authorizing him to sign the documents.
Yes, I am authorized, I'd like to make a motion to authorize, Dr. Kubak to, sign the deed over.
Second.
We have a second. Thank you, Mr. Carnes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No,
Ms. Johnson?
Ms. Dobson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Holbrook?
no,
Dr. Hubak?
Yes.
Mr. Carnes?
Yes.
Ms. Purvis? Yes. The ayes have it, sir.
Motion passes. Mr. Hagler, carryover reappropriations.
Yes. Typically, reappropriation of ending year balance comes after the end of the year. I'm bringing this one before you because of timing of our meetings in July and also the Board of Supervisors. We will have enough money, even more than this, because we receive state funds for a bonus. We're gonna pay that in July, so it'll be carryover funds. We need additional matching funds to certify that we're gonna do that. So this resolution I'm asking the board to approve is that from our 25-26 year, we reappropriate $1,484,504 to the operating fund for the 26-27 budget, so we can pay out the bonus to our employees in July. If the board approves this, then I will go to the second meeting in June for the Board of Supervisors, present it to them to make this, to reappropriate the funds. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any discussion, questions?
By the way, I mean, I think it's in there, yep. $1,050 for full-time employees and $500 for part-time employees.
So is this the bonus that we usually do every year?
No, this was in the state. This is in the state budget. They've already sent me the funds. This was an amended budget for the 25-26 year, and they've already sent me the funds for this. We're just gonna pay it out in July, and it's gonna be paid out for employees that have signed their contract to come back next year.
They gave the right to do it this year or next year.
So do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Mr. Hagler, second.
Second.
Ms. Thompson,
Mr. Holbrook made that motion.
It was Mr. Holbrook.
excuse me. Thank you. Mr. Holbrook. You're doing those H
You're
words.
doing great, don't worry.
Mr. Hagler just became a board member.
I'm just glad that Mr. Hagler got the age award there. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. And Mr. Chair, budget adoption.
You were given a amended budget. If you'll look down on the bottom of that link, that was 1.2 less than what we had asked for. And so that needs to be approved tonight. And then keep in mind with where we are with the state, we may have to come back again and do that all over again for amendment if the state doesn't give us what we would expect. So you'll see in that document, this is asking for an adoption of amended budget that was agreed upon on May 26th. However, we're still waiting on the state.
Removing 6 positions in nutrition. Yeah, that's working with our nutrition department. That's our plan right now.
Are they funded positions or positions that we're still at?
We'll have turnover. There's not gonna be any breath or terminations.
Gotcha.
And I try to document the things that we like to change to balance the budget. As Mr. DeVere said, if the state comes back, the budget's significantly different, we may have to amend, it's pretty close. Budget will just be your final. But I'll brief the board on what the state does, hopefully in July, if they pass one here by the end of June, and let you know where we stand. We keep this approved, so we can load it up into our financial system and actually start transacting this. Unless you wanna make any changes. For every, the boards.
Basically, this budget reflects what the county
It only
appropriated.
reflects and I made a couple tweaks because I had to go up on the fuel because of our locked-in rate. So there are a couple technical adjustments that happened after your first budget you approved that I went back and made adjustments for. Slight adjustments here and there, but mainly the fuel one I had to go up on. And also the reduced funding from the county was the main driving factor of that.
All right, do we have a motion to approve this budget adoption?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, could I
Yes.
request, just for it's on the record and recorded, at the very bottom, I have, if you could read the numbers, operating fund, and just say the amounts, so the board clerk can have those. It's, you could read these. Operating, you would do that, and then there's the total.
All right.
That would have it on the record.
The total operating fund, you're talking about that 128,303.
Yeah, I just circled them for.
Okay.
Yeah. So total operating fund would be $128,303,531. Total school maintenance projects fund would be $7,689,650. Total textbook fund would be $1,205,642. The total nutrition fund would be $5,339,040 for a grand total of $142,537,863.
All right, we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Holbrook. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Let's have it, the motion carries. All right. Closed session?
Mr. Chair, pursuant to Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A1 for the discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, disciplining, or resignation of specific employees of Bedford County, I move to go into closed session.
Second?
Second.
Favor, say aye. Aye. We're in closed session.
Yeah, she does that. Takes people's pencils. Sometimes she gives you.
I think she noticed it was dull.
They're all my pencils, y'all.
Now,
Write his name on his next time.
All right. Do we have a motion to come out of closed session?
So move.
Second.
second.
Mr. Holbrook. All in favor, say aye. Ms. Johnson.
Whereas the Bedford County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And where section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bedford County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Thank you.
All right, a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Holbrook.
Second.
Mr. Hill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, matters from the board. We start with you, Ms. Purvis.
We had a STEM Academy meeting, and that went well, everything was fine. And then I was able to go over to the, Forest Middle School today and look at their drone competition stuff that they're doing. That's amazing. I talked to Miss Watson, who puts it together. She's doing a drone, camp this summer. And the kids pay, and she doesn't get paid for it, it's all volunteers. But she uses the money for the camp to put towards building the program. So she's just doing a fantastic job, and she writes the grants, she gets she does everything. And she doesn't get paid a dime for all of the extra work she puts in. So, I wanna just shout out to her, she's just an amazing, amazing person, and doing a great job with the kids. They're loving it, so. Oh, and I also went to Boonesboro Elementary's, they had their 5th grade graduation, basically, or their ceremony. That was really nice too.
I just wanna say that I think we have some really hard decisions to make. I think we all want what's best for Bedford County schools. I think we all want the same thing, and that our schools are supported and even out, and that's why we're doing the redistricting. I would like for us to look at ways to support over and at capacity schools and find relief where we can without impacting a large amount of students. And with that, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask the board for consensus that we have administration look at field verification, proof of residence for our at capacity or close to capacity schools. Just that there might be a handful of students here and there that would just with schools at so much pressure that we would find a little some more wiggle room and just making sure that students are residents of those areas.
So to register, they have to prove residency. And so the secretaries verify residency. And I mean, only if we hear that someone is moved and is not being honest about residency, would we be able to verify it. Does that make sense?
Well, I think that's the concern, is that there are students that are not, that have been that are returning students, not new students. And so that we maybe just look at that and see where we can, yep, you know what I'm saying.
So I don't.
You don't?
I'm
Okay.
sorry. So
So-
what are you asking us to get
Okay,
consensus on?
so I believe that, there's some students that, so right now, isn't it true that Forest Elementary, it's only teachers that are,
And siblings have grandfathered in students who were there when we moved the, what's the
Lake Vista?
subdivision? Lake
like,
Vista.
so that's the recent thing, but before that,
Mhm.
it was the only transferred students that were coming in were students of teachers, correct?
Other employees, not just teachers, and it could be teachers or employees in other schools. So that's kind of the way our policy's written. So, or they're ones that, yes, have like maybe, I'm just gonna use an example, like a paraprofessional's child who might be at JF. They're an employee of Bedford County, and so because they can walk across the road, they may have been approved. And so employees are supposed to reapply every year so we can check employment, which I do when I get that request. But you and I can talk about specific, I mean, if there's some that the
It's not,
school is
it's not
worried.
necessarily an employee, it's not necessarily new students. I'm
Yeah.
talking returning students.
Okay.
That may have not changed their residency.
I guess, is there already a mechanism in place, Dr. Woodford, for kind of vetting each student that's there?
When they come in and when they do re-registration every year, if parents update their mailing address and their residency address, once they provide residency, they've signed off that they are being honest and truthful. We have had situations where we have found that someone has moved out of zone or out of the Bedford County because communities start to know things and those names are given to us. And then we do a verification, like a face-to-face verification at the home. So that's the only way. Most people put their new addresses. Sometimes they don't even realize that, oh, I'm not in this zone anymore. I'm really supposed to be going to this school. They just assume they can stay and get started. But if there are concerns, then we can definitely go do a face-to-face verification. We just have to know what the concerns are. Like, I don't know that we could go back through all of the kids and ask for a re-proof of residency because we've already gotten that. And when new student or returning students reapply, so every year you have to do a re-registration. We're depending on them to give us any changes to address or anything like that. And then if we do, then they have to reprove residency.
So is there a mechanism in place that, say we know of student A, to report that anonymously or however, and then within policy that gets checked out, or is it just don't ask, don't tell?
Would it be feasible to do just like I don't even know if it would, how it would work, but do like a JS check to where, hey, these are the addresses that we have on file. Just verify that the people that are on file are still there, but I know some people rent, so I don't, that might get messy on that end. Sorry, I'm just talking out loud.
Yeah, I mean,
And how much of this is gonna happen with the redistricting study
I
too?
doubt very little of this.
Cause it sounded like they were gonna match up students and GIS and do all the overlay.
They'll take the student data from what we have.
Yeah, so
They said they're living there,
we'll just
that's
trust
all we
it.
have to go on.
Yeah.
They prove residency when they first.
Well, there's
came
really
in.
wasn't no way to prove it unless, like you say, you go to this house, confirm, you get
Be a lot of work to
racing
do.
this. I mean, you know.
Do you have a concern, Ms. Dobson?
Oh, I do for schools that are not taking transfers, that,
People are skirting the rules.
they are absolutely not reporting their new residences.
What gives you that concern?
I've heard it,
Okay.
I've heard it from people that are doing it. So,
We do have occasions where someone really wants to be in a school and they've been there and they don't want to leave. We've had instances where a family has moved to Lynchburg City, and then when we figured out they're not there in our division, we'll go have a conversation with them, and they're like, oh my goodness, we didn't know. I don't understand why people don't know, but there are some of that. I mean, the only thing we could do is you could report it to the principal, who would then report it to us, and we would do a verification, or, you know, if other families or anybody has concerns. I mean, I could do an audit of like the heavy grade levels. I mean, I could probably do that in GIS, but then I'd also have to know, do they have a lease or something like that? But I mean, I don't mind going down and trying to do some of that at Forest Elementary if we have concerns about a specific grade level, or, you know, I can talk to Miss Manley if she knows, or if other parents want to report specifics that can be checked face to face. So
It's a misdemeanor.
I'm sorry,
It's a
what?
misdemeanor.
It is a misdemeanor.
So what are the SROs doing over the summer? I got a great idea for it.
Well, they go back to work for the sheriff.
I know.
But, I mean, so we send our social workers, and a lot of times the SROs will go with them just because you're going to somebody's home. We don't have family support workers who are working in the summer, but I'm pretty scary.
But I think it's a legitimate question. What's the best way for us to proceed with this concern?
So, I mean, if we're willing to redistrict,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a population that is not where they're supposed to be. And I think we talked about it a little bit earlier with possibly taking away some grandfathering, just other approaches to it. So in my eyes, I'm thinking, okay, well, instead of people that have gone through the correct process,
Yes.
let's start with the ones that have not.
Yes.
And that's where I'm coming from, is that we're looking at schools that are at capacity.
Mhm.
We need to do something. Let's make sure that the people that are doing things properly get to stay.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, why punish the ones?
Why
who-
punish the
yeah.
ones that are doing it correctly
Yeah.
when you have a group that is not? And it, you know what, it might yield one or 5, who knows? But I think that it's important, if we're willing to do something, there's so many families that are doing things the correct way. Let's look at the ones that aren't first. And that's where I'm coming from. with
I
this.
would say we 100% agree, because when we do hear, and eventually someone will say something to someone, and we have moved a lot of people this year especially. We've really had a lot that we've said, you're not a resident, you're not zoned, you know. Let me think about how I can check I don't know. Because as a parent, like, once you prove residency, if you're having to prove it every year, that puts a burden on a lot of parents. So I'm trying to figure out, how do we figure out that they've,
I think we've done it mostly digital, but back in the day, if you mailed things and you got something kicked back to say no longer at this address, that would go, hey, red flag, you know. But I don't know if we do much mailings anymore.
not really.
So I just moved. I moved in January. Stayed in the same neighborhood, same zone. And I was asked to come into the school and show
Right,
my-
show
my
your
mortgage.
residency.
And so, I mean, it's not difficult. I mean, and I get it. You don't want to burden families with continuing to do it, because I actually had thrown away my mortgage statement. But it happens. Like, it's not something, it's a hassle. But we have been looking at moving families. And so I also want to look at providing a little bit of relief if we are going to wait a whole nother year. And if that's just a few students, a few students will help. So that's where I'm coming from. And I do know it happens. And I did.
Unless they're really in the New London district.
Trust me,
got
we
plenty
got
of
him
them. Come
all.
on.
Yeah, I'm
Is it
sure.
glass half full or half empty?
Let me see what I can do. I'll
Okay.
figure something out.
Does that still need to be a consensus?
I don't think so.
Consensus.
Okay.
It's a good way of generating discussion.
Okay.
Most of the kids might got down the road.
As the acting chair, you will need to call for consensus from the board in order for staff to actually take this direction.
Can the direction just be we,
To investigate.
It can be however, if you want to change what you asked him to call for consensus for, you absolutely can, but it's just,
okay,
it's not official unless the chair called for consensus and consensus is given.
okay. Mr. Chair, I would like to ask the board for consensus for Dr. Woodford to look into different ways to verify residency at Forest Elementary. Are there any other capacity schools?
I can only do one a summer.
Okay. We'll focus on one right now.
Everybody hear the consensus request?
For Dr. Woodford to look into ways to verify residency for students at Forest Elementary School.
Yes.
Mr. Carnes?
Yes.
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 We have a unanimous decision
Thank you, sir.
for Dr. Woodford to do some work this summer out of her ordinary.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Carnes?
Dr. Hubach, I think I'm pretty much talked out tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, I said all I have to say.
Y'all heard enough of me tonight, I'm done.
Oh, my. Oh, no offense. That's rude.
I'm just thankful for the frank discussion this evening. We have a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.
Great job.